Hi, welcome to the Disability Guerrillas podcast. I'm Eric Galvez, and I'm so honored to have these guests on today. Uh, I can't do them justice, so let them introduce themselves. But they're with the I'm an Athlete 2 Foundation, and I'll start off with Monica. If you can introduce yourself, that'd be great.
My name's Monica Aho. I'm a pediatric physical therapist up in Houghton, Michigan. And with these lovely ladies, we started I Am an Athlete 2 about in 2021.
Okay, and Lindsay, could you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Lindsay Marquardt. I am also a pediatric physical therapist and a clinical assistant professor at U of M in the PT program. And I was lucky enough to jump into this group about 3 years ago.
And Abby, are you still there? Can you
I'm still here, yeah. I'm the third pediatric physical therapist on the team as well. I live in Holly, Michigan. And I met Monica back when I was a PT student finishing up my clinicals. She was the PT I was with, and that's also when we met Maria.
All right, cool. And Maria, can you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, I'm Maria Velat. I am not a pediatric physical therapist. I'm currently a senior at the University of Michigan studying movement science, and I'm also a student athlete on the wheelchair track and wheelchair tennis team. And I'm also CEO of I'm an Athlete 2, which we started when I was in high school, getting physical therapy from Monica and looking to join my high school team as an adaptive athlete.
That's cool. Wow. And I'm so honored to have you guys here. But actually, Monica, can you give us a little background about I'm an Athlete 2?
So back in, and Maria can probably tell this story better, but back in 2019, I was going about my business, being a pediatric PT, when I met a young lady, Maria, who came into the clinic, and Maria can tell her story a little bit better, but when she came into the clinic, she had been an elite athlete and then suffered an injury, and she wanted to keep being an athlete. Maria, do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, sure. So for context, in 2019, I was 15 years old and I got transverse myelitis, which is a random inflammation of the spinal cord. So from that, I have a C6 to T3 incomplete spinal cord injury, which I spent 2 months in the hospital for. And then afterwards, I did physical therapy with Monica back in my hometown in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And kind of my first question when I was injured was how would I continue doing sports, because I had been a really avid athlete. I had been captain of my cross country team, varsity runner on track, cross country skier. So I didn't really see a world where I wasn't an athlete, even though at that point I was a wheelchair user and I'm still a wheelchair user. So I kind of posed that to Monica because a lot of the doctors in the hospital, they didn't really have an answer for me. They just kind of gave me some organizations that were in the Lower Peninsula, which is kind of a 5-hour drive from my hometown. So then we were trying to find a way for me to do adaptive sports locally in a pretty small town where there's not really a lot of resources or opportunities, at least when I was injured back in 2019.
At that time, Abby was, like she said, doing a clinical with me. And for her final project, I told her to figure out a way for Maria to join her high school track team. And so Abby is quite the underachiever. And so, of course, she reached out to like all of these people nationally to come up with a plan on how Maria could join her team. And Abby can tell you a little bit about that too. But the end result of that was a set of rules that incorporated fair play, point scoring, so Maria could join, and the conference adopted that. And then the season went beautifully. And then, Maria, do you want to talk about what happened at the end of the season?
Yeah, so we found a track chair for me, and my conference adopted the rules so that I was able to score points for my team from doing a certain time standard. But then once I got to regionals, which is governed not by the schools but by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, they kind of told me that I couldn't compete at all, and that there was no way for me to qualify for finals since they didn't have any set of rules or any category for adaptive athletes. So that was pretty disappointing because I had gone through my entire season competing alongside my team. And then now I got to this big final meet and they told me that I wasn't able to compete anymore. So from that, we started a change.org petition to have adaptive rules statewide, which we named I'm an Athlete Too. So there, that was kind of our proposal was in that change.org petition. And the MHSAA told us that if we got, enough people to enough adaptive athletes to show that this category was needed, then they would consider kind of creating like a temporary adaptive category for 2 years. And then from that, they would consider making it permanent. So at that point, that's where we realized kind of that this I'm an Athlete Too change.org petition had to be a little bit more. So then that's where we've now shifted to having our own track equipment, hosting our own clinics, and helping families throughout the state kind of advocate for their high schools to have adaptive category in their track and field programs. And then from having all those high schools, now the MHSAA sees that there is athletes statewide who want that category, and now it is permanent. And we have, I think, over 30 athletes in Michigan statewide competing for their school teams, which is a long way from just me by myself in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan competing, and the High School Athletic Association saying that there's no other athletes who want this category.
Yeah. Now, actually, Maria, you just got back from somewhere, and I just very briefly overheard you won some sort of championship. Can you explain that?
Yes. Yeah. So thanks to I'm an Athlete Too and being on my track team, I was able to be recruited by the University of Michigan to be on the wheelchair track team. So right now I'm a student athlete here, and I've also started playing some wheelchair tennis when I was a freshman, and now I'm a senior. So we actually just came back from nationals in Orlando, where we won our first national championship for our program since we started 5 years ago. So that was a really amazing end to my senior year. And everybody's like, it's super great for the program historically and just for adaptive sports collegiately, because all of our athletes are student athletes and they kind of started playing adaptive sports in college, and now they've grown to be successful enough to win a championship. So it's been really amazing.
That's awesome, man. So can I ask you, like, how did you get involved with athletics as a high school student?
Yeah, I guess before my injury, I was just really competitive because I have 3 brothers who also do sports. So I just kind of always wanted to be better than them at something. So I chose that to be my sports. And my parents also really encouraged just doing sports. We had to do a sport for every season. So that really made me very athletic and passionate about being active. And so then once I got injured, it wasn't really a question of not doing sports anymore because I've always been an athlete since I could remember. I think I started skiing when I was like 3 years old. So I probably walked worse than I skied at that time. So I think it's always been a part of me. And so with my injury, that was kind of my biggest question. It wasn't really if I would walk again. It was like if I could do sports again. So I think that was a really big part of my journey. And I'm really glad that I was able to start that journey so early, because you hear about a lot of people who get injured and realize 10 years later that there's adaptive sports. So I think just me being an athlete throughout my entire life really made that opportunity possible. And I think that kind of I'm glad that I'm able to bring the opportunity to other people now who are, disabled in their schools and not really knowing that they can do sports, especially those who have congenital disabilities. I think that's a big thing, is that they don't realize that they can be athletes. So that's kind of our whole phrasing, I'm an athlete too, just encouraging all those people with any kind of disabilities that they can compete in whatever capacity they want, and that we want to be able to kind of provide an opportunity for that to be for their schools and be a part of their schools. Because I think a lot of what we're going for is competition and kind of showing that, it's more than just being on the track, it's being an integral part of your team.
No.
And I can say from a rehab standpoint, Maria being an athlete really changed my perspective on how to rehab somebody like her. She was very competitive with herself. Like she would set her own goals and then beat them within a day. She caused me more paperwork than any patient I've ever had. Constantly having to upgrade goals. We incorporated the things that were important to her into her rehab, as far as like her athletic goals. Like I would write goals about skiing. She was sit skiing within a day or two of coming home from inpatient rehab. Yeah. Like there was no lag time between before and after. It was like that was a part of her rehab, and it was what motivated her, between horseback riding, getting back on a bike, getting back on the ski trail. And then when track season rolled around, like that was just a natural, like whatever she did before, she was still going to do with modifications as needed. And we just incorporated that into her rehab, which was very cool.
Yeah. And I think also a big thing we've seen with our organization, with like working with kids with disabilities who've never done sports before, is that having sports as like that other outlet has helped them in their rehab and kind of like their medical journey. Just having like that motivation that's not just, it bettering your walking, but now they want to, get stronger to be faster at their sport. So I think that's something that we're seeing that isn't really talked a lot about in the disability world. That's a big part of adaptive sports.
How did you get involved with like pediatric adaptive sports? I mean,
it was all Maria, to be honest. I am almost embarrassed to say that. So I've been a PT for 30 years this year. And I'd always recommended recreation for my patients, go out and snowshoe, go out and ski, whatever. But true competitive sports was not on my radar screen, especially living in a rural area like we are up here. I just didn't know they existed. And then Maria came and she introduced us to this whole new world. And we went to the Great Lakes Games and to nationals. And I just discovered how life-changing sports can be for people. And it changed how I practice in the clinic, advocating for competition and seeing how these kids' lives have changed, how empowering it is, and how it changes the perceptions of others as well. Our school up here has been incredibly supportive, but because of Maria, there are kids that have come after her who were basically, like flunking out of school or not caring about school, and suddenly school matters because track matters, and I want to go to college so that I can play track or be on the track team. Kids that were seen as kind of invisible before are now superstars, high school All-Americans. Like, it is life-changing, and Maria really opened my eyes to the benefits of sports for everybody, which has been super cool. But it really was this rural area that started the change for the entire state. And one thing I was going to add about what you guys were talking about with Lindsay is the key to the change in the state of Michigan has really been through physical therapists. Yeah. It's the PTs that work with kids with disabilities, PTs in the schools. We've reached out to the Pediatric Special Interest Group through the APTA. It's been PTs that can really identify, and we're movement specialists. It's just a natural fit, and they know the kids and they know how to push people to limits. And so we've really reached out to PTs throughout the state in order to identify kids, because kids sometimes don't, like Maria was saying, especially kids with congenital disabilities, may not see themselves as athletes until someone says, you're able to do this, and then it kind of redefines how they see themselves as an athlete. And physical therapy has been really key to the change in the state of Michigan, which I'm proud to be part of that profession.
One thing I'm really proud of is be able to build this kind of like pipeline that we've been seeing more of people who either have never considered themselves athletes, or have just competed, not very, just kind of casually, and now that they're super motivated now that they can compete on their high school track teams, and they see the growing collegiate space. Now they want to, they hadn't even considered college before. Now they want to go to college, go to University of Michigan, get these really good grades so that they can compete at the collegiate level. I know there's some athletes who started with I'm an athlete too, who are now actually my teammates on the track team, who before that hadn't really considered college, nonetheless University of Michigan, as a choice. And now their students there connecting with all like the great opportunities that college has, but then also being student athletes and being visible kind of at that level. I think that's something that's really been really grown as our organization has gotten older. I think that's something that I've really been happy to see, and something that I definitely didn't imagine, because initially I just wanted to be on my track team. That was really the initial push, and now we're really pushing for kind of more of that, more integration, having it be more of like a holistic thing of like student competitive athletes on their team, so that they can have the opportunity to go further past high school to college and beyond. Because I think in non-adaptive sports, that pipeline is pretty clear. You have like toddlers doing soccer and kind of competing their whole entire lives. But for people with disabilities, there's not really that pipeline at all. So just to be a part of that, I think has been a really great thing that we've been able to do. That I don't think we, at least in my initial vision, I didn't think that would be a possibility.
Does the University of Michigan actively like recruit athletes?
Yeah, so I was actually the first wheelchair athlete recruited to the adaptive track team. Before that, it had just mainly been ambulatory athletes who kind of were already in college, and then they realized there's an adaptive track team and they joined. So me in 2022 was kind of the first wave of recruitment for the team, and now we do a lot of recruitment pushes. We go to a lot of just general adaptive track meets, and not just collegiate adaptive track meets, to recruit those athletes, and we talk to them and provide resources. And we host our own meet at University of Michigan called the Miller Family Open in June, and there we have a prospective high school athlete day where we kind of take them around campus, have them speak to current athletes. So I think that recruitment is something that's happening more both at University of Michigan and across other universities across the United States. Yeah. So that's been really great. We have some student athlete scholarships, and there's also some scholarships that are tied to certain disabilities that are by outside organizations, like for spinal cord injuries. So that is part of like the recruitment process. Yeah. And then also you can also go to either if you go to the Flint or the Dearborn campuses, then you can also still be a student athlete on our team. So just having that different opportunities based on where your interests lie is also a good way that we recruit athletes.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So how many adaptive athletes are there at U of M? Like what sports do they usually have?
We have 5 competitive teams. We have tennis, wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball, track, and para powerlifting. So between all those, I would say we have over 50 athletes. Oh, wow. And then over that number, we also have community athletes who are part of some of those teams. Like the wheelchair rugby team is community based with some student athletes. And then the wheelchair tennis team is mostly just student athletes. So there's kind of a mix of both of those depending on what level that adaptive sport is kind of nationwide. Because some sports like wheelchair basketball have a very long collegiate history, but some sports like wheelchair rugby and track and field are relatively new in the collegiate space. So with organizations like ours, it's kind of growing those athletes before high school so that they have the time to actually be in college and be athletes. I'm an Athlete Too has been a big part of growing that track space. So all of our wheelchair racers, we have 3, including me, have gotten started kind of with I'm an Athlete Too.
Like, where do you guys practice?
Yeah, the track and tennis team practice at the varsity facilities. Okay. So at the track and at the varsity tennis center. And then all of our student athletes do strength in the performance center, which is on that athletic campus. And then our other teams go to places like the Coliseum to play basketball. Oh, yeah. And then we also work with the Disability Network, which is serves like Washtenaw County. We work with them to have a space to train and do strength for our community athletes. Cool. So that's where our community athletes will do strength.
Nice. What's your motivation to like compete?
I'm just a competitive person, but okay. Like there wasn't really a question that I wouldn't be an athlete. So the motivation there was just to like continue having this identity that I have had for my entire life. It was more like there wasn't even a question in my mind that I wouldn't be an athlete. So, you know, my motivation was that I just wanted to keep being who I was because it's been a part of me for my whole life. So I think that kind of mindset is what led me to adaptive sports so quickly. So really, there was no really transition where I went from, you know, being an athlete to having disability and then not being an athlete. It was just kind of a continuous reminder like throughout my rehab that, you know, that was what I was going for and this is what I would continue doing once I got back. Yeah, and I've had a lot of people, you know, Monica supporting me, always pushing me along, and then my parents also, for them it was also not really a question of if I would continue sports, it was more of a how. Yeah. And so, yeah. So I think having those people around me, because I was 15, so like having that support system of people who are older than me and more experienced maybe in life, not necessarily adaptive sports, really helped to kind of have that transition to adaptive sports. But I would say there's still definitely things that I'm learning. Like this year I tried wheelchair rugby and that's been a really great time. So there's still definitely more adaptive sports that I would like to try. I've been able to have that place in track and fields just because it was a direct transition, and be able to have that category established, I think was a big part of it too. And be able to still, you know, I was captain of my team and still be able to compete on the team was a big thing for me throughout high school.
That's great. Monica, I did want to ask you, like, so how exactly did you get involved?
As a pediatric PT, I've always worked with people with disabilities. That's been my career for 30 years. But I wasn't aware of the adaptive sports world per se until Maria. Like she really opened my eyes as far as that goes. We live in a very rural area of the state. And so recreation has always been a part of rehab. Like we've always really encouraged people to get out, to swim, to, you know, snowshoe, walk in the snow, those kind of things has always been a part of the career. But the adaptive sports world, it really was Maria that introduced that to me because it was so much a part of who she was. It had to be a part of her rehab. And so it just became a part of what we did. Her goals were sports goals for the most part. And that was what was important to her. And so, and opening my eyes as far as the benefits of that has changed how I practice with other patients now, other clients.
Do you have other clients or whatever that are interested in? Yeah,
actually. So one of the young ladies that also went to the same high school as Maria, she was a freshman, I think, or 8th grade when you were a senior, something like that. They were not on the same team at the same time. So she was middle school. And I would say, hey, do you want to try track? And the first year she just, I took her to watch Maria, and that was as far as it went. Like, okay, I'll watch her. And she's like, that's cool, but that's a lot of pressure. Everyone's watching you. You're different. You're not the same as the other runners on the team. Like that takes a lot of guts. And especially Maria, like she was the only one in the state at that time, that first year. And then other people joined later, but that's asking a lot for a kid that's used to being invisible. So then the second year, I talked her into joining the track team. And the day before track season started, she quit she couldn't do it. So then the third year, I talked her into doing it. We met every day. Maria was already gone by then, and she did it, and she did really well. And then we went to like the Great Lakes Games. She made it to nationals the fourth year she was in it. And this past year, she got a national record and now is a high school All-American and wants to go to college and be a teammate of Maria. It just took us Maria's intervention and 4 years of convincing to get her to do it. And now she holds a national record, and it's changed her life. So, and that's what I see. Like, it's really intimidating for kids. Like, Maria knew she was an athlete before, and she just knew that that was who she was. So even after her injury, she kept doing that. For some kids who have never seen themselves as athletes, and then we're asking them to try this new thing, no one in their school, like this young lady had Maria as an example. Most kids don't have that example ahead of them that they can follow in somebody's footsteps. And then, so they're trying something new. They have to advocate. You know, Michigan was one of only 14 states in the nation that didn't allow adaptive athletes to join their school team. So like it's something brand new that they haven't seen. And then we're asking them to be advocates and fight for rights and all this when you're a teenager, you know, just trying to exist with a disability in a high school setting, which is already challenging for most kids. So I've been so proud of the kids that have stepped up, because by showing up, they've shown everyone else. Like, it was Maria showing other kids, and now these kids are showing other kids, and it's just exploded across the state. I think this year we're going to have more athletes than ever before. We had like nearly 30 last year. From what I can tell, like there's going to be a heck of a lot more than that this year. And we're starting Michigan's first adaptive track and field team, the Michigan Grit. That's starting this year too, where it's an all adaptive track and field team. So it'll be elementary through high school, and then they'll go to the adaptive meets like the Great Lakes Games and try to qualify for nationals, which will be in Grand Rapids this year again.
That's so. Grand Rapids. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's in Michigan, which is perfect because it's just really brought to Michigan the importance of adaptive sports. It's just like highlighted it. The timing couldn't have been more perfect.
How big is that event? I'm curious. Like, how many people attend?
Oh gosh, you know, like nationals is big.
Oh.
It's
probably like over 300 at least. And they have I think over 10 sports there too. It's not just track and field. So it's really great that is in Grand Rapids this year, and we're able to bring our athletes there and also have them see other athletes. I think there's no feeling quite like going to your first adaptive competitive event and seeing just so like more wheelchairs than you've ever imagined was possible in your life, and more people competing with disabilities than you thought was possible.
But I did want to ask a couple questions of you guys to kind of like get to know you as individuals. Actually, we'll go ahead and start with you, Monica, since I've got you highlighted here. But what would you say is your personal theme song? If you had to choose.
Oh gosh, my personal theme song. I listen to a lot of Imagine Dragons, so and Radioactive is one of my favorite. I'll probably regret saying that now, but I don't even know why.
Okay. All right. And then Maria, how about you?
I think right now, based on the fact that I'm a student athlete, it's been the Michigan fight song.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good.
Mostly, so being able to kind of represent a college at a national level, especially a very recognizable college, has been a really amazing experience, and something that I definitely didn't think would be possible when I was 15 years old with a newly acquired spinal cord injury. So I think having that, and I go through the airport with my track chair traveling, and I'm wearing all my Michigan gear, and I'll just hear you pretty much anywhere I am. So having that, I think, is something that I didn't realize the impact that just my presence would have as a student athlete.
Yeah, I'm going to start with you, Maria, here. So who is your personal hero?
So I would say that I have a lot of them, but I think, since Monica is here, I would say Monica and also my mom working together to kind of continue adaptive sports in my hometown, since I'm not there anymore, but still have a connection to it. And also just seeing them, connect with so many people and kind of take my introduction to adaptive sports and something that they experienced with me, and then continuing that on past me being there and me now living in Ann Arbor. They connect with people with disabilities. They do sit skiing sometimes every week. They go to local ski races, and they, Monica goes to the track probably more often than I do some weeks. So I think just them continuing on and also finding their own passions in this world that we kind of discovered together has been really really impactful on me.
Yeah, Monica, I'm going to ask you now. Like, who's your?
Well, I'm going to say the same thing. So, Maria is known in my world as my fourth child because she has changed my life and just opened my eyes to so many things. And it's been like her perseverance, her humility while doing amazing things that has just inspired me. And I know people use that word a lot and toss it around, but it's just, but it's true. So Maria's my hero, of course.
Very cool. All right. Now I'm going to change gears a little bit here, but we'll start with you, Monica. And here's the next question. I'm kind of skipping around here. What is your guilty pleasure?
Oh, my guilty pleasure. Chocolate covered coffee beans.
Okay.
I eat them coffee beans, chocolate covered coffee beans. Like it's like pure caffeine covered in chocolate.
Okay.
I eat them every day. Every day.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even know they made those.
Oh, you're missing out.
I'll definitely. You get them at Costco, or where do you get them? Like,
well, we have this little local store that I get them at here. Trader Joe's. You can get them at Trader Joe's.
Okay. Anyway. All right. Cool. And then we'll go back to you, Maria. Like, what is your guilty pleasure?
I would say any kind of like sweet treat. Right now it's been boba, just because I push to campus and every time I go there's a boba shop on the way. So it's very hard not to give into that after a long day of classes. But any kind of sour candy, I would say as well, is something that I enjoy.
Next, we'll stick with you here. If there was a movie biopic about your life, who would play you? And we'll start with you. But you never thought about that.
I have no idea. I think because I kind of look like a 12-year-old boy at points, so I think it's kind of hard to pick an actor that I know of who looks like me. But I think if I could pick like a random person, I would say Tom Holland.
Oh, okay.
Just because I like him in Spider-Man. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. All right. Yeah, then we'll go back to you, Monica.
Same question.
Yeah.
Would be the most boring movie biopic ever. I've been told that I look like Renee Zellweger.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I love photography. Outside of work and adaptive sports and cheering on kids and my kids and other kids, I do photography. I do a lot of writing. I've written a novel, and yeah.
What was your novel about?
Oh, it's a fiction novel. I wrote it for my kids.
Really?
I don't know if it's any good, but it was on my bucket list to write a novel, so yeah. I did. It just came out this last year, so that was kind of cool.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Ad Lucem. It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fiction thriller kind of thing that I wrote for my kids.
Oh, very cool. How old are your kids now?
I have twin 22-year-old boys, and then my daughter is 17, and she'll be graduating from high school this year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, then we'll go back to you. We'll go back to you, Maria. Like, what do you like to do in your spare time?
So a year ago I got a cat. So I've been teaching her how to be a dog by taking her on
Okay.
walks. So I would say,
On a leash.
yeah, whenever the weather is, yeah, on a leash with a harness. And it's more her walking me, but I just like to, after a long day of many things, I try to find like at least 30 minutes to kind of take her out on a walk, just so maybe I can go outside mostly, but also so she can enjoy it.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a very controversial question here, but I'm very interested in what your answer is. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I would say that I don't personally like pineapple on pizza, but I don't think it's offensive to have it on pizza.
Okay. Yep. And Monica?
I'm a strong yes. Like we will at my house buy a cheese pizza and then buy a pineapple just to put it on the pizza.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I've got one last question here for you. Any parting words for everyone? We'll start with Monica. Any parting words of advice for everyone?
I would say we've come a long way in the state of Michigan, but we have a lot of work left to do. Kids, as far as they are being viewed through the Michigan High School Athletic Association, are still viewed as exhibition only. They aren't viewed as full team members. They're not point scoring. Just last year was the first year they could get records. But they're only allowed to compete in 4 events at regionals and finals. So there's a lot of education and a lot of work we need to do to make kids equal team members on their high school teams, and that's our goal. And we just want kids out there to know that they are capable of a lot and that they deserve to be a part of their school teams, to represent their school, to work hard, just like any other athlete. And that's what we're going to keep fighting for.
All right. And Maria, do you have any parting words or any words of advice?
I think with what Monica said, and part of just having a disability in general, something I always like to talk about is just like, setting goals or just like a future mindset. In Michigan, we've come a long way, but I think there's always more work to be done. And with that could be kind of overwhelming. So with what we do, we're kind of, just trying to push forward and push for these things that we know can be achievable because they've been done other states, things like point scoring, things like doing more events, just getting more people on their track team. Those are very tangible things that we are working towards. And, there's this whole world of like what is possible. I think setting that first and trying to achieve those. And then you have this whole other world after that is opened up to you. So I think that is something that has brought us a long way. Definitely for me, just wanting to join my high school team and now having this statewide nonprofit organization, I think it's come a long way. And a lot of that has come with just setting, this very specific mindset on what we want and what we're pushing for and why.
That's awesome. Like, I really love what you guys are doing because, like, man, just being part of a team as a youngster, that is huge. So, I really admire what you guys are doing. You guys are doing some great things.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.